right, let's get started then. So, before we get into today, I just want to say something that I think you need to hear before anything else. If you have tried things before and they didn't work, I just want you to know, like, go ahead and clarify right now, it was not your fault. If you followed the path that the world laid out for you and you ended up feeling empty, that is not a character flaw. And if you looked at every business opportunity out there and none of them felt like you, that is not evidence that you are not cut out for this. The options you've been given were designed by people who had no idea what God specifically placed inside you. They were built for the masses and not for you. And I think on some level, you've always suspected that, haven't you? I know I did forever. That there was just something more, and that the path that everyone else was taking wasn't quite my path. It wasn't quite your path, you know? And the life that you were building, it looked right from the outside, but it just felt like slightly off on the inside. If that sounds like you can drop a yes in the chat. The conversation definitely helps me feel good, see you guys engage. So if that all resonates with you, yes, I see 100% for sure. I'm so glad because for years I thought it was just me. But you were right, and that suspicion was not anxiety or ingratitude or restlessness. That was your God-given direction, looking for your God-given clarity. And that's exactly what today is about. So, my goal today is to help with three specific types of women. So I want you to identify which one you are right now because as we walk through this, it's going to be slightly different depending on where you're starting. I know we're all kind of starting from different positions. So I think it's important to kind of figure out which one of these women kind of aligns with you to make sure that we are a good fit, that this is something that you need to hear before I take up an hour of your time. So the first woman is just starting out. She's been feeling the pull, but has not done anything with it. Maybe she's been too scared. Maybe she just didn't know where to begin. If that's you, by the end of today, you're going to know exactly what your God-given gifts are. And the very first time, you're going to have one clear next step towards turning that into something real. Can you see how that could change things for you? Drop yes in the chat if that came for you. If that sounds like you, yes. All right, so the second woman has tried all the things. She's done the MLM, which this is not, by the way. I'm not about to give you some high ticket sales pitch here. The MLN, she's tried the side hustles, she's done the Etsy shops. She bought the course and never finished it. She's been doing things, but none of them felt like they were hers. And if that's you, by the end of today, you're going to understand exactly why none of those things worked. And it's not the reason you think. And if any of you are nodding yes right now, you can drop yes in the chat. I know a lot of us have signed up for all the things because everybody's telling you about all these easy things you can do, and they all sound wonderful, and you want to sign up for all of them. I know, I've been there. So the third woman, she already has a business idea. I know some of you guys, like we messaged, and some of you have already kind of come up with ideas that you have for business ideas and things like that. So if that's you, this is where you'll be. She knows what she wants to do, but she doesn't know how to get there or whether it's actually right for her. And if that's you, by the end of today, you're going to have a framework for making sure that that idea is actually aligned with the gifts God's placed before you build one more thing. I know a lot of us, we have ideas for businesses we want to start, and you know, for this woman, it's trying to figure out whether that business that you're thinking of starting, whether it is in fact, aligned with what God created you to do. So if you want to raise your hand in the chat, just drop a one, two, or three. Which woman are you today? One, two, or three. Are you just starting? Have you tried all the things? Or do you have an idea in mind? Yeah, lots of different options here. Yes, two and three. Yes. For sure. Okay, I love it. So it seems like we have all three women in the room, which is perfect because this is exactly who today was designed for all of you. So I want to tell you exactly what my goal is for the next 60 to 90 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it to 60, but like I said, it's the first time going through the whole thing, so if I go over a little bit, I hope you'll forgive me. I have a lot I want to give you. So, it's not to give you a business plan, and this is not to give you a strategy or a system or a step-by-step roadmap. My goal for today is to get you to believe one thing, just one. And if I can get you to believe it, every question you have, every doubt, every fear, every reason you have told yourself this is not possible, all of that disappears. So here it is. Here's the one thing that I want you to hear. When you stop inviting God along for your plans and you start asking Him what His plan actually is, and then you look inside yourself for the gifts that He already placed there, success stops being something you chase and it becomes something that finds you. And that has been like the biggest moment of clarity for me is really understanding that, really taking time to say, like, I'm going to stop inviting God to bless the plans that I have and just ask Him, like, what are your plans, So that's it. That's the one thing. And I know that might sound simple and maybe it sounds too good to be true, and that's okay. You don't have to believe it yet. That's what the next 60 to 90 minutes are for. And everything I'm going to show you today, every story, every framework, every exercise is designed to get you to have that one belief. Because once you're there, the path forward is not complicated, it's actually very clear. So if you're ready, drop yes in the chat. Y'all gonna get tired of hearing me say that. Yes, I love it. I've always been to workshops where they say to do that, and I never understood it until went on the other side of it. It does feel so good when people are like they are responding, like active. Love it. Okay, so before I take you into the content, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm qualified to teach this. So, in the past 10 years, I have had the incredible chance to build businesses in almost every category you can think of. I've done the MLM and I found success in it. I flipped houses, I hold rental properties, I've blogged and built, a genuine loyal audience. I've created digital products, planners, and devotionals that people loved, and I've built a six-figure e-commerce business on Amazon. I've grown a social media following to over 60,000 people organically without running a single ad. And I've also invested over $50,000 in mentors, coaches, and programs to learn what I know. And I've been able to help women do the same. And they can find what God placed inside them and build something real from it. But it wasn't always that way because here's the truth. Um, I found a level of success in almost every single one of those rooms, but none of them felt like the thing that God actually made for me. And a few short years ago, I was sitting exactly where you are right now, and I was feeling the pull and I was knowing there was something more, but I had no idea what or how to find it. And what I discovered has changed everything. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So, I want to take you back to the beginning because my story doesn't start with a successful business or a social media following or any of those things that I just mentioned. It started with a girl who did everything the world told her to do and still felt completely empty. See, I went to college. I actually have a master's degree, and it wasn't because I found something I was passionate about. It wasn't because I was called to a specific field, but it was because every advisor, every adult, every voice around me said that was the path to success. So I followed it because that's what you do, right? Can anybody else relate to that? Doing what you're told because it seemed like the right path? Drop yes in the chat if you feel that. Yep. Masters, I feel you. Yep. Nice thing to hang on the wall, right? Yep. And I got into the world desperate. I was desperate to find a job that would make me feel like I'd made it, like I was successful in the world's eyes. Like all of that education had meant something, anything. And I found jobs. I worked good jobs, ones that looked impressive from the outside, but nothing fulfilled me. And regardless of the income, regardless of the title, regardless of how it looked on paper, I still went home at the end of the day feeling like something was missing. And here's what I actually wanted. Underneath all of the achieving and the striving and the following of the blueprint, I wanted a life that felt good on the inside, just like it did on the outside. I wanted work that felt like mine, not somebody else's path I was walking down, something that was actually built for who I was. And I wanted to feel like I was walking in what God made me for. Like that pressure in my chest that said, there's something more. That pressure had to finally have an answer. And more than anything, I wanted to stop feeling guilty for wanting more because I had so much. I had a good life and I still felt empty. And the guilt of feeling empty in a blessed life was almost worse than the emptiness itself. Has anyone ever felt like they were felt guilty for wanting more? Like you should just be grateful for what you have. Drop a yes in the chat. I know for me, as a mother, like having kids and a family and a home, like it's such a blessing. And you feel so guilty when you're like, yeah, this is great. Thanks, God. But I just feel like there's something more. I see you, and I want you to know that that guilt is a lie. Because wanting to walk in what God made for you is not ingratitude, it's obedience. So I kept trying things because that's what driven women do, right? They feel the pull and they do something about it. So I did the MLM and I found success in it, honestly. But the strategies, they just never sat right with me. The selling and convincing people to spend all this money that they're probably not going to get back out of it. It just did not feel good. Like I didn't feel good about knowing that I was doing that, right? And something about it, it felt like I was working someone else's system instead of my own. So I did something else. I flipped houses. My husband and I, we made real money. We still hold rental properties, but something just felt slightly off. Like it just wasn't the completion that I needed. I blogged for a while. I built a loyal audience. I had people that loved the content. I've created digital products, and each thing's worked to some degree. I made some profit off of them. Each thing's produced results, but none of them gave me that peace, that sense of, yes, this is exactly what I was made for. Like it finally makes sense. And I kept hitting the same wall over and over again. Every path I tried was someone else's path. Every blueprint I followed was someone else's blueprint. And nothing I built ever felt fully like mine. And does that sound familiar to anybody? Have you ever worked really hard at something that just never felt quite like you? Drop a yes in the chat if that sounds like you. I understand. I've been there. Yes. Yes. It's like it works for other people and it can work for you, but like if it just doesn't feel right, like you just don't want to do it, you're forcing yourself to do work that you don't enjoy. And that wall has a name, and by the end of the day, you're going to know exactly what it is and how to get through it. Yes, pretending who you are. That's a great example. And then came one specific night that I will never forget. I had prayed for a family for years, a loving husband, a warm home, children, and God answered every single one of those prayers. And I am so grateful. I truly am. My husband is my partner, and my kids are my entire world. I would not trade that life for anything. But even then, in the middle of the most beautiful life I had ever prayed for, I still felt it. That pressure in my chest that I couldn't explain. I thought it would go away, when I got those things, but it didn't. It was still there, still weighing on me. And I remember one night I was sitting at my dinner table with my newborn sleeping peacefully in my arms, and my husband was telling me about his day, and I can remember like the sunset was beautiful, like it was the perfect night. And I was crying. And it wasn't like a quiet little tear. I was actually crying. And my husband stopped mid-sentence and looked at me like, what is happening right now? And honestly, I couldn't explain it because how do you tell someone you feel empty in the middle of everything you prayed for? What kind of person feels unfulfilled in such a blessed life? So I sat there feeling the pull and then feeling guilty for feeling it. And the two together were almost unbearable. Finally, I said it out loud. I told my husband, I said, I feel like has created me for something great, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what that thing is. And so that night, I prayed a prayer, and I continued to pray that prayer for a long time. And that prayer was this: God, I feel you calling me towards something. I don't know what it is, but when you open the door, I'll walk through it. And then I waited and waited and waited, and nothing happened. There was no burning bush, there was no clear sign, no door swinging open. It was just the same ordinary days and the same feeling underneath all of them. Have you ever prayed a prayer like that and then heard nothing back? Drop yes in the chat if that sounds like something you've done. We pray that prayer and we say, well, listen, but we want to listen then, right? We want that answer at that moment, not when God wants to give it to us. We want it then. And the silence after that prayer was one of the hardest seasons of my life because I'd said yes to God before I even knew what I was saying yes to. And then I just had to wait. But here's what I didn't know then that I know now. He wasn't being silent. He wasn't silent. He was preparing me. I just wasn't ready yet. Okay. And then a door opened. 3 years ago, I started Simply Caroline. It was and is an e-commerce business. We focused on physical products at the time. We have butter crocks and salt cellars. They're still selling on Amazon. And I walked through that door just like I promised, because when God opens a door, you walk through it. And it was good, really good. I mean, it's a great business. It's six figures, six figures good, and it's real success by any measure. But here's what I understand now that I couldn't see then. That door wasn't the destination, it was my classroom. Because in building Simply Caroline, I started discovering something I'd never paid attention to before. And those are my actual gifts. And they're not the skills that I'd been trained to have, not the abilities I had developed trying to survive in the world system. The specific things God had wired into me because before I ever sat in a classroom and before I ever talked to a single advisor, those things are there. My ability to connect with people, my ability to communicate, my voice, my words. Did you hear that? Drop yes in the chat if you caught what I just said. Because the business was never the gift. The business was just the room God put me in so I could finally see the gift, see what He had placed inside me. And here's the moment where everything clicked for me. And I want you to really listen to this because this is the living proof of everything I'm going to teach you today. Like, I am the example. I can tell you these things because I've lived it, because I've done it. I've been exactly where you were. When I started growing my social media, I was given a blueprint by a mentor. It was a specific strategy for building an audience, and I was excited to try it, and I decided to go for it. But instead of using it on Simply Caroline, the page that God had already called me to build, I started a brand new page. It was a comedy page for moms because I thought it was a great idea. I invited God along for my plan and I asked Him to bless it. And you know what? It didn't work. So I took that exact same blueprint, not a different strategy, the exact same one. In fact, pretty much the exact same content. And I switched it to Simply Caroline. And the page God had already called me to, the one He already aligned with His plan, it took off. It flew. I got 60,000 followers and a six-figure business, real income and real impact. It was the same blueprint. It was just a different page, and it was completely different results. Can you see what happened there? Drop yes in the chat if you see it. Yes, amen. Yes. It's crazy. It was insane. Like, I distinctly remember I had worked so hard to build that page up, and that mentor told me, he said, it's not happening. Like, he told me to cut it. Like, I'd spent a month, 2 months working on this page, and he was like, just move on. And I was so discouraged. And all I did was take that exact content to the page that God had called me to. Yes. And it took off. Like, it did exactly what He said it would. Because it was never about the strategy. It was about whether I was building on the foundation God had already laid for me or whether I was still dragging Him along for my plans. And that realization changed everything. And here's the shift, the actual moment where everything changed. For most of my life, I'd been doing what a lot of us do. I'd been making plans first and then inviting God to bless them. I followed the advisors, I followed the world's blueprint. I built what made sense from the outside. And then I asked God to show up and make it work. Because, God, here are my plans. Please bless them. But when I stopped doing that, when I started asking God what His plan was first, and then I looked inside myself for the gifts that He had already given me to follow through on that plan, everything changed. Because success stopped feeling like I was swimming against the current and it started flowing naturally. And I realized something I wish someone had told me 20 years ago. When you're following the path that God laid for you, success comes easily. And when it feels like you're swimming upstream, like it did when I first graduated and struggled to find my place in the world, that's not failure. That's the signal that you veered off course. Are you guys getting this? Like, does this make sense to you? Drop yes in the chat if this is landing for you, because if the advisors in high school had told me this, my whole life would look so different. I could have made so much more sense of my life if I had been told this 20 years ago, right? Like if somebody had said, ask God what his plan is. Like, don't do what the world tells you to do. Ask him. Look into yourself for what you have. And here's what happened on the other side of that shift. 60,000 people started following me because of my voice. A gift I had been carrying my whole life, and I never once thought to use it intentionally. I mean, just imagine a room with 60,000 people in it. I am mind blown. Like when I tell you guys, like I am not social media. Like, let me teach you how to get these. I have worked with people and helped them grow their social media, but like 60,000 people is mind blowing to me. Like, just imagine if you could communicate with 60,000 people. And so, I built a six-figure business, not on somebody else's blueprint, but on what God had placed inside me specifically. Mary, I don't know if I would have believed them, Marianne. I don't know if I was mature enough to believe them. Maybe you're right. Maybe God was teaching me when I needed to hear it. And, this was work that finally felt like mine, not a performance. It wasn't a role I was playing. It was me, fully me. And peace. I had a peace I had been chasing through every degree, every job, every business, every hustle for years. And it wasn't at the end of the strategy, it was on the other side of surrender. Because the gifts were there the whole time. I just finally learned to see them. And here's what I want you to hear before we go any further. I've spent $50,000 on programs and mentors in order to have these breakthroughs. And I believe with everything in me that God called me to share what I've learned with as many women as possible. Because in a world that defines success as income level and social status, it is so easy to keep inviting God along for our plans instead of asking Him what His plan actually is. And that's what I'm here to do today. I'm here to share it because I feel called. I feel like God has really laid this on my heart, and I want to share it with as many people as I can. So here's where I was, and here's where I am now. From following every blueprint the world handed me to walking in the plan God had for me all along. From building businesses with somebody else's tools to building something with my own God-given gifts. From swimming upstream against everything to success that flows naturally when I stay on the path that He laid. From feeling a pull with no idea what to do with it to clarity, direction, and income that actually aligns with who He made me to be. So here's the thing I really want you to hear. I'm not special. I did not have some extraordinary advantage. I was not born knowing my gifts or walking in my calling. I spent years doing exactly what most of the women in this room have been doing. The only difference between where I was and where I am now is this. I finally stopped asking God to bless my plans, and I started asking Him what His plan actually was. That is available to every single woman in this room. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to get there. So if you're ready, drop yes in the chat. Yes, I'm so excited to share this. I've been like itching for this workshop just to be able to share this with everybody. I'm so excited. So here's exactly what we're going to cover today. These are the three secrets, three frameworks, and each one builds on the last. Secret number one is called the gift inventory. This is how you identify the specific gifts that God already placed inside you. Not in a vague, I'm good with people kind of way, in a clear, specific, nameable way that you can actually build something from. Secret number two is called the alignment map. Once you know what your gifts are, this is how you connect them to real, sustainable, aligned income. Not someone else's income stream, but yours. And it's built specifically around who God made you to be. And secret number three is called the CEO meeting. This is the exercise that changed my life. And I'm going to walk you through it live today. And this is how you stop inviting God along for your plans and you start asking Him what His plan actually is, and you get a real answer. And by the end of these three secrets, you're going to have more clarity than you have had in years and maybe ever. If everyone's ready, you can grab something to write with because you might want to take some notes, and you can drop yes in the chat when you're ready. Yes, I love it. Pen in hand. I'm a note taker for sure. I love to write things down because once it's over, I'm like, what did they talk about? All right, so perfect. Let's jump into secret number one. So, secret number one is called the gift inventory. And I want to start with a question that a prophet asked a desperate widow thousands of years ago, because it is the most important question you will answer today. What do you have in your house? Because that widow thought she had nothing, just a little oil, something so small and so ordinary she almost dismissed it entirely. But that little bit of oil, the thing she had in her house all along, was the very thing God used to change everything for her. But your gifts are already in your house. You've been carrying them your whole life. You've just been too busy looking for something out there that you have not stopped to look at what you already have inside you. And the gift inventory is the framework I developed to help find what is already in your house. You can name it, you can shape it, and you can give it a purpose. So if you're ready to find out what is in yours, drop a yes in the chat. So I want to tell you something that might surprise you. Your gifts are not missing. They've never been missing. They have been with you your entire life, in every season, every room, every role you have ever played. The reason most women cannot find them is not because they're not there, it's because your gifts are almost completely invisible to you. And that invisibility is not an accident. It's actually the nature of genuine God-given gifts. The things He placed inside you come so naturally, they cost you so little that you have never once considered that they might be valuable. You assume that everyone can do what you do, but they cannot. You've just done it your whole life, so it feels ordinary. It's like breathing. We don't think about it, we just do it. And that's how internally, like how deep your gifts are, like how simple that they feel to you. And that's exactly why most women spend for years trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. Not because their gifts are not there, but because you cannot see your own blind spots. And the gift inventory is the framework that changes that. So the gift inventory has four steps. Step one, look backward. Step two, listen to the compliments. Step three, find the thread. And step four, name it. And here's what I want you to notice about those four steps. They sound simple, they're almost too simple, and that's exactly the problem. Because when most women hear those four steps, they think, okay, I can go home and do that. I'll look back at my life, pay attention to compliments, find the common thread, and give it a name. Simple. And then they sit down to actually do it, and nothing comes. We have such a hard time identifying our own compliments, right? Like our own gifts. If I asked you to name your best friends, you could give me 10. But naming them for ourselves is hard. And it's not because these steps are wrong, but because one thing that makes the gift inventory almost impossible to do alone is because your gifts are hiding in your blind spots. The things that God placed inside you are the things you've done so naturally for so long that you've completely stopped seeing them. They feel like background noise, like breathing, like just the way you are, which means the very thing you're looking for is the thing you're least equipped to find on your own. I've never, ever sat with one woman who didn't have gifts. Not once. But I've sat with hundreds of women who are completely unable to see theirs until someone sat across from them and helped them find what had been visible all along. Can you see why that would be hard? Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. I don't know, maybe some of you can spit off all your gifts, but for me, it was hard. It was hard for me to identify those things in myself. It's so much easier for me to compliment other people than for me to say, like, oh, yeah, I'm good at this, right? All right, so let me show you what the gift inventory looks like when it works. I have a friend, and she has a heart for serving people in poverty. She spent years working alongside nonprofit organizations in third world countries. That pull, that deep, genuine heart for community and service, it was her gift, and it had been her gift her whole life. But she tried real estate because the world said that that's where the money was, and she found success in it. But something never sat right. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Trying something because it made sense, even when it never quite felt like yours. And when she finally did the work of identifying her true gift, her heart for community, for service, for the women who had nothing, everything changed. This person, she started an e-commerce business, but she wasn't selling random products. She found a community of women in a third world country who made handcrafted bags, and she partnered with them, and she gave them income, and she gave them dignity, and she donates part of every sale to a charity. And she built something that is completely, entirely, unmistakably hers. But here's the part of the story that I want you to really hear. She did not find that on her own. She needed someone to help her see what had been invisible to her, to ask her the right questions and to reflect back to what she could not see in herself. And that's what the gift inventory does. And that's why it works. Now you're probably thinking, I've tried to figure out my gifts before. I've taken the personality test. I've taken them too. I've journaled about it. I've asked myself the questions, and I still do not know what they are. And I hear this all the time, and I want you to hear my response clearly. That's not your problem. It's just a visibility problem. Your gifts are not hiding because you're not smart enough or self-aware enough or spiritual enough to find them. They're hiding because of the nature of these gifts themselves. The things God placed inside you, they're ordinary, they're effortless, and they're automatic, and your brain has literally stopped registering them as significant. They're invisible to you the same way you cannot smell your own home. I think that's such an interesting concept. You know, you go into somebody else's house and you say it smells good, or it doesn't smell good, maybe. But you know, when you go in your own house, you don't have to, you don't notice those things. And this is, it's the same concept, just to put it into those type of words, and because you're just too close to it. And that's why the personality tests, they don't work. That's why the journaling does not get you there. That's why you can ask yourself the questions 100 times and you can still come up empty. Because visibility problems require someone else's eyes, someone who can sit across from you and ask you the right questions. They listen to what you say, and more importantly, what you do not say. And they reflect what has been invisible to you all along. And that's exactly what changes when you stop trying to find your gifts alone. Drop yes in the chat if you try to figure out your own and still feel stuck. Anybody else done all those personality tests? Anybody else working to fill out the personality test and tries to think of what answer you should say rather than like the one that just comes? So, I want to introduce you to the first of three women whose stories live inside secret number one, the faithful worker. She followed the path, she got the degree, maybe even advanced degree or master's. She took a job that made sense on paper. She built the resume the advisors told her to build, and she's good at what she does. She's capable, she's reliable, and she's the person that everybody counts on. But there's something underneath all of that. There's a quiet voice that keeps asking, is this really it? Is this really what I was made for? Because as good as she is as what she does, it never quite feels like hers. Maybe she's a teacher who pours everything into other people's children, and she wonders if her gifts were meant for something more. Maybe she's the woman in the office who's competent and capable, but she feels like a square peg in a round hole every single day. Maybe she left a career to be home with her kids, and she wonders if there's a way to contribute financially without sacrificing her presence. But she feels God calling her somewhere. She just doesn't know where. And that false belief sitting underneath all of it, I don't have any gifts worth monetizing. I'm just good at what I was trained to do, and that's not special. If that feels familiar, drop yes in the chat. Anybody feel like they resonated with this lady? Yes. Mhm. Anybody the person that everybody relies on? The person they all go to because she's got it all together? Yeah. Yep. That's me too. I understand. And that false belief is exactly what the gift inventory breaks. Because what you were trained to do and what God gifted you with are two completely different things. So now you understand what the gift inventory is and why it works. But I want to ask you something. Even if you knew exactly what your gifts were, even if you could name them clearly right now, would you know what to do with them? Would you know how to turn a gift from making people feel seen into an income stream? Would you know how to take a heart for service and build something sustainable from it? Most women do not. And that's not failure, that's just the next problem to solve. Because knowing your gifts and knowing what to do with them are two completely different things. And this is where I see women get stuck most often. They do the work of identifying their gifts, or they start to, and then they look at the online business world and they see hundreds of different options, and none of them seem to fit. The MLM doesn't feel right. The drop shipping ads feel like a trap. The coaching businesses feel too vulnerable. The Etsy shop feels too small. Nothing seems to match what God placed inside them. And that's because they're trying to fit their gifts into someone else's vehicle. And that will never feel right. So, secret number two solves that problem. Are you ready for that one? Drop yes in the chat. Great. So, secret number two is called the alignment map. And I want to anchor it in a woman from scripture that I think every woman in this room has heard of and maybe misunderstood. This is the Proverbs 31 woman. She gets a reputation for being intimidating, like she's some impossible standard none of us can reach. But when you actually read her story, something really interesting emerges. She was a wife, a mother, and she was deeply devoted to her household. And she considered a field and she bought it. She made linen garments and she sold them. She provided for her family through the work of her hands. She was a businesswoman, creating income and building something real. But she did not choose between her family and her gifts. She built something that honored both. And she was fully herself and entirely the entire time. Not a performance, not someone else's business model. It was her own thing, and it was built from her own gifts. And that's what the alignment map is designed to help you do. Most women, once they start to sense what their gifts might be, make the same mistake. They look at what is available, what is popular, what seems to be working for other people, and they try to fit their gifts into those existing vehicles. So they try the MLM because a friend is doing it and making money. They start a coaching business because they saw someone on Instagram doing it. They launch the Etsy shop because it seems manageable, and they try affiliate marketing because it seems passive. And none of it fits because none of it was built for their specific gifts. and they're trying to pour their gifts into someone else's container. And gifts don't work that way. You cannot take a gift for building deep community and force it into a drop shipping business. You cannot take a heart for teaching children and make it fit into an affiliate marketing strategy. The container has to match the gift, not the other way around. And that's where the alignment map does. It does not show you what vehicle exists, it shows you which vehicle was built for your specific gifts. So, are you starting to see the difference? So, the alignment map has 4 steps. Step 1 is identify who needs your gift. Step 2, find the vehicle. Step 3 is test the alignment. And step 4 is build the bridge. And just like the gift inventory, these steps sound deceptively simple. But here's what I've discovered working with women through this process. Most women can identify who needs their gift pretty quickly once they know what their gift is. That part's not the hard part. The hard part is steps 2 and 3, finding the right vehicle and testing whether it's truly aligned. Not just aligned on paper, not just logical, not just potentially profitable, but genuinely, deeply aligned with who God made you to be and the life you are actually living right now. Because alignment is not something you think your way into. You cannot sit down with a spreadsheet and logic your way to the right vehicle. I've watched women do that. They build the most logical, most strategic, most well-researched business plan, and then they start building it, and it still doesn't feel right. Because alignment is not a thinking exercise, it's a discernment exercise. And discernment is something most of us need help with. And the women I have walked through the alignment map, the ones who find the vehicle that truly fits, almost none of them found it where they expected to find it. And almost none of them would have gotten there alone. Can you see why this step is so critical to get it right? So let me show you what the alignment map looks like when it works. I know a woman who was an occupational therapist, and I've worked alongside her. She's one of my greatest friends. She's trained, she's gifted, and she is genuinely skilled at what she did. But she wanted out of the hospital setting, so she started selling random products online, trying to build something that would give her freedom without using the professional gifts she had been trained in. And it didn't work because she was trying to run from her gifts instead of building with them. And then her daughter was diagnosed with a cognitive delay, and she saw something she had never seen before, a gap. There was a whole community of moms who were navigating exactly what she was navigating, and they had no idea where to turn. They had no resources that spoke to them in a way that was actually accessible. No one who understood both the clinical side and the mom side at the same time. And then she realized that that gift she'd been trying to escape, her occupational therapy training, her understanding of cognitive development, her ability to help families, was exactly what those moms needed. And that was her vehicle. Not random products, not drop shipping, the exact intersection of her professional gift and her personal experience. She didn't get a new gift. She finally found the right vehicle for the one she already had. And she never would have found it by the logic way, trying to logic her way into the right business model. She found it because she stopped running from her gifts and started asking where they would actually needed. Now you're probably thinking, this sounds good, but I'm worried that building something means becoming someone I'm not. Putting myself out there and turning into a business person when I'm really just a mom or a teacher or a caregiver. And I want to break that belief right now because making income from your gifts does not mean becoming someone you're not. It means becoming more of who you already are. The Proverbs 31 woman did not stop being a devoted wife and a mother to build her business. She built her business as a devoted wife and mother. Her family was her foundation. Her gifts were her vehicle, and the income was the result. The vehicle changes, the person does not. You don't have to become an influencer. You don't have to be on social media every day. You don't have to run webinars or build a personal brand or do any of that things that feel like they require you to become someone different. You just have to find the vehicle that fits who you already are and what God already placed inside you. And that's exactly what the alignment map is designed to help you do. So, did that clear something up for you guys? Did that take away that concern, that feeling that you're going to have to do something that doesn't feel like you? Because that's not our goal here, for sure. I'm not trying to put you in from one thing to another that doesn't suit you. So, the second woman is the devoted mom. And she chose to be home, and she doesn't regret that. Her kids are her calling, and she knows it deeply. But there's something else stirring underneath the beautiful, ordinary days. She wants to contribute financially. She feels the pull towards something that is hers, not just mom, not just wife, but something that uses the gifts God gave her in a way that also provides for her family. But every time she looks at what is out there, it either feels like too much, it requires too much time away from her family, or it requires her to become someone she's not. She's seen the MLM, she's watched the online business world, and none of it feels right because deep down she knows if she's going to do something, it has to be real, it has to be aligned, and it has to be her. And the false belief sitting underneath all of it, making income from my gifts means becoming someone I'm not. I can't be a devoted mom and build something real. I have to choose. If this woman feels familiar, drop yes in the chat. Those were some quick yeses. This one sounds real familiar. The alignment map breaks this belief completely because it does not ask you to choose, it asks you to find the vehicle that fits the life you already have. And that vehicle exists. We just have to find it. So now you have two pieces of the puzzle. You understand what the gift inventory does and why it works, and you understand what the alignment map does and why it works. But I want to ask you something before we go to secret number three. Have you ever done all the things, followed all the right steps, made all the right moves, and still felt like something was off? Like you were closer, but not quite there. Because I see this happen all the time. A woman identifies her gifts, she finds an income stream that seems aligned, she starts building and it works, but something still does not feel completely right. And almost every time the reason is the same. She is still the one driving. She has swapped out the world's blueprint for a slightly better blueprint, but she's still making the plan and asking God to bless it. And she has just upgraded from the world's plan to her own plan. And secret number three is what changed all of that for me. It's the framework that takes everything you've learned today and places it under the right authority. Not your authority, not the world's authority, but His authority. And it's the most important of the three secrets because without it, the other two will only take you so far. So if you're ready for secret number three, drop yes in the chat. All right. So I call secret number three the CEO meeting. And I want to anchor it in a woman from scripture whose story is the perfect picture of what this framework is all about. Esther. Esther was an ordinary woman in an extraordinary position she never asked for. And when the moment came for her to step into what she was placed there to do, she hesitated. The timing was not ideal, the risk was real, and it was not convenient. And then Mordecai said the words that changed everything. Who knows whether you have not come to this kingdom for such a time as this? Such a time as this. Not when the kids are older, not when things slow down, not when you feel more ready. Now, this season, in this moment. And I want to add something to that story I think is going to land for some of you. Moses was 80 years old when God called him to lead a nation. Abraham was 75 when God gave him the promise. Anna was 84 when she finally saw what she had been waiting for her whole life. Because God does not operate on the world's timeline. He does not look at your age or the years you spent in the wrong room and decide you missed your window. Every year was preparation, not wasted time, preparation. And such a time as this was written for the woman who thought she had waited too long. So I want to introduce you to the third framework, and it's called the CEO meeting. So I want to go back to that comedy page for a moment. You remember the same blueprint, wrong page, nothing. Same blueprint, right page, 60,000 followers, and a six-figure business. The difference between those two outcomes was not strategy, it was not effort, it was not timing. It was whether I was building on what God had already called me to do or whether I was still dragging him along for my plan. And here's what I want you to understand. That comedy page, it felt like a good idea. I thought mom humor was a great market. And it made sense. It was logical, it was creative. And if I'd made a pros and cons list, it probably would have looked like a solid plan. But it was not his plan. And the moment I stopped operating from my plan and I started operating from his, everything changed. The CEO meeting is the framework that makes that shift repeatable. Not just a one time surrender moment, but an ongoing practice. It's a rhythm, a way of operating that keeps you on the right page consistently. And I'm going to walk you through it live right now. And I would definitely say, I think you should do this once a week. I mean, once a month for sure, to just make sure that we're staying on the right path because it's so easy to fall off the right path. So if you'll grab your pen now, because this is the part that you want to experience and not just hear about it. Okay. So the CEO meeting has three questions. And unlike the other two frameworks, I'm not just going to tell you what they are. I'm going to actually walk you through this right now live together. So get quiet for a moment and just take a breath. Put down anything that's competing for your attention, and I want you to imagine you're sitting across from God, not performing, not presenting a list of things you need. You're just sitting in His presence. And we're going to ask Him three questions. And you're going to write down whatever comes. Not what you think you should say, not the spiritual answer, just what actually comes. So, the first question, ask God, what is your heart for my life right now? And write whatever comes. God, what is your heart for my life right now? I'm going to give you a minute to answer that because I really want you to actually do this. It made such a difference. What is your heart for my life right now? What is your plan? What do you want from me right now in this season? Whatever comes, write it down. You're not going to read it out loud. You don't have to share it with anybody. Write it down for yourself. All right. The second question, we're going to ask Jesus, what are you speaking over this season of my life? And write whatever comes. Don't filter it. Don't try to write what you think you should say. Just ask Jesus, what are you speaking over this season of my life? Imagine you're sitting with him and you're at your kitchen table and you're asking, what are you speaking over this season of my life? And allow him to answer and write what he says. All right. The third question, we're going to ask the Holy Spirit, what steps do you want me to take next? And write whatever comes. What steps do you want me to take next? What specific steps? Whatever pops in your head, put it on paper. Even if it doesn't make sense now, in a year from now, it might make sense. So just put it down on paper. I want you to take a moment to look at what you wrote and what came up for you. If you want, you can drop one word in the chat, just one word that describes what you felt or what came through for you. Did you find some peace, clarity? Did you find the answers you were looking for? Did you get something that doesn't make sense? Yeah. This is a genuine task that I do on a regular basis. I would encourage you to try it on a regular basis. Maybe when you're not in a workshop with people, but sit down quietly. Yes, yeah, it is. I had a mentor that suggested that I do this because I had, my business started and I had all these ideas and I was throwing them all at her, like, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And she kind of stopped me and she said, what does God think about that? And I was like, oh, you're right. I don't know. And she walked me through this and it was such an important moment for me. It was, a dramatic change for me, and I think it's a great thing to do for sure. So let me tell you about someone close to me whose story is the CEO meeting in action. Because she followed every blueprint the world gave her. She became incredibly successful by every measure. She had the career, the income, the security, all of it checked every box. But it never brought her joy. And she'd finish a successful day and she'd feel empty, like she had accomplished everything and none of it meant anything. And she kept asking the world to do what to do next. And the world kept giving her more of the same. More achievements, more success by the world's definition, and more emptiness underneath it all. And then she stopped. She stopped asking the world. She stopped following the blueprint and she started asking God what He actually called her to do. And she built something of her own. Despite being terrified of losing the security she had spent years building, despite every practical reason to stay where she was, she found more success and more peace on the other side of that decision than the blueprint ever gave her. She stopped swimming upstream and everything changed. And here's what I want you to notice about her story. She did not figure that out on her own. She needed someone to help her hear what God was already saying, to create the space, to ask the right questions, and to help her discern His plan from her own. And that's what the CEO meeting does. And that's why it works. Now you're probably thinking, what if I do this and I don't hear anything? What if I sit there and nothing comes? Honestly, when my mentor suggested I do this, that was what I thought would happen. Those were those were my assumptions that I would sit there and nothing would come. And I want to address this directly because God's not withholding direction from you. He's been speaking. That pull you've been feeling, that restlessness, that sense that there is something more, that is Him speaking. You have just been so busy following someone else's blueprint that you have not had the space to hear it clearly. And the CEO meeting does not make God speak. He's already speaking. It creates the space for you to finally hear what He's been saying all along. And what I want you to notice, if something came up in those three questions just now, something about your gifts, your calling, something you've been quietly feeling for a long time, that's not random. That is the clarity you came here for today. And what you do with that clarity is the most important decision you'll make today. The third woman is the busy builder. She did not just feel the pull, she did something about it. Because she tried the network marketing, she started the shop or launched the Instagram or she took the course. She showed up and she put in the effort and it didn't work. Or it worked a little, but it never felt right. Or she burned out trying to maintain something that never quite fit who she actually was. And now there's a new voice, quieter than the original pull, but louder than she would like. And it says, maybe this is just not for me. Maybe I missed my window. Maybe the women who make this work have something I don't have. because she's not lazy and she's not faithless. She's just tired of trying things that do not feel like they're her calling. And that false belief sitting underneath all of it, this isn't the right time. And maybe I'm just not the right person. And if this woman feels familiar, drop yes in the chat. And I want you to hear this directly. This is directly for you. You did not fail. You were building in the wrong room with someone else's tools or someone else's page. And the three frameworks we just covered, the gift inventory, the alignment map, and the CEO meeting, exist specifically for you. For women who have been trying and still cannot find things that feel like hers. Because you were not doing it wrong. You were doing it without the right framework. And that is about to change. And I want to give this thing a name before we move forward because once you can name something, you can change it. What you've been feeling, that pull, that restlessness, that sense that the life you're living and the life you were made for are not quite the same yet, that is your gift gap. The faithful worker has a gift gap because she's been using her gifts to build someone else's vision instead of her own. The devoted mom has a gift gap because she has been convinced that her gifts are not valuable enough to build something real with. The busy builder has a gift gap because she's been trying to build with someone else's tools instead of her own gifts. It's the same gap, but there's three different versions. And here's what I need you to hear. Your gift gap is not a character flaw, and it's not evidence that you missed your calling. It is not proof that this is not for you. It's simply the distance between where you are and where God designed you to be. And distances can be closed. Three frameworks, three secrets, one outcome. Clarity on your gifts and incomes that aligns with who God made you to be. And the next step is completely and entirely yours. Drop a yes in the chat if something has shifted for you today. Anything you felt a shift today? I hope so. That's my goal. Yeah. So I want to walk you through something before we go any further. We just covered three frameworks today: the gift inventory, the framework for identifying the specific gifts God already placed inside you, the alignment map, the framework for connecting those gifts to real, sustainable, aligned income, and the CEO meeting, the framework for keeping God in the driver's seat so that success flows naturally instead of being forced. And I want to ask you something about each one. If you applied the gift inventory, if you actually did the work of identifying what God placed inside you and you gave it a name, do you think that would change things for you? Yeah. If you applied the alignment map, if you found the specific income stream that was actually built for your gifts instead of trying to force your gifts into someone else's vehicle, do you think that would change things? Hmm. And if you applied the CEO meeting, if you stopped inviting God along for your plans and you started asking Him what His plan actually is, do you think that would change things? Hmm. Yeah, I thought so. So let me ask you one more question, and this one is important. What would aligned income actually do for your life? Not the money itself, what the money makes possible. Because for most of the women in this room, it's never really about the money, is it? It's about being able to say yes when your kids ask you to go somewhere without checking your bank account first. It's about not lying awake at night, doing math in your head, running the numbers, wondering if everything is going to be okay. It's about being able to give to your church, to that cause that keeps pulling at your heart, to that person God keeps putting in front of you without calculating whether you can afford it. It's about your kids watching you build something and learning what it looks like when a woman walks in her calling, not just talks about it, but actually lives it. And it's about being present with your family without the weight of financial pressure hanging over every single moment. It is about work that finally feels like you, not a performance, not a role you're playing, but you. Whatever came up for you just now, that's your why. And that why is exactly what God was pointing at in the CEO meeting. The gifts he placed inside you were never meant to sit unused. They were meant to fund that life. Today you got a glimpse of what those gifts are and what to do with them. And now I want to show you what it looks like to actually make it happen. So if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to share something else with you. Is everybody okay? Drop yes in the chat if you're okay if I share something with you. Great. You guys are amazing. Okay, before I move forward, I want to check in with you. So, how many are you excited for what we covered today? Drop a fire emoji in the chat if you're feeling fired up. Anybody feeling excited, ready to go, ready to make some big changes in your life? Yes. I love it. And how many of you are also feeling a bit overwhelmed? Like maybe you just drank from a fire hose. And that is completely normal. And honestly, that is exactly how it should feel at this point, because here's the truth. There's no way to cover everything in 90 minutes. I gave you the what today, the three frameworks, the three secrets, the big picture of what is possible when you stop inviting God along for your plans and start asking Him what His plan actually is. But the how, the actual guided work of identifying your specific gifts, mapping them to your specific income stream and building your specific next step, that requires something a 90-minute workshop cannot quite give you. It requires time, it requires guidance, and it requires someone sitting with you and asking you the right questions and helping you see what you cannot see on your own. And I've created something specifically for the women who are ready to do that work. And I've put everything I know, everything I've spent 10 years and over $50,000 learning into a 4-week live coaching experience. And it's designed specifically for the woman who left today's workshop ready to actually do something with what she discovered. So if it's okay, I'd like to share that with you. I'm pretty excited. I've been working on this and planning to offer this for a while, and I'm pretty excited about it. So if everybody's okay with that, I'm going to share it with you now. So I want to introduce you to the Align Income Collective. This is a 4-week live coaching experience that I built specifically for the woman who just spent the last 90 minutes discovering that her gifts are real, her calling is real, and her next step is closer than she thought. But who knows, she cannot get there alone. I did not build this because it seemed like a good business idea. I built it because I have spent years spinning, trying things that did not fit, following blueprints that were never built for me, and spending thousands of dollars finding the breakthroughs that I am now going to hand to you directly. And I built it because every time I sit with a woman and help her find what God placed inside her, I watch something shift in her that I cannot describe. A weight lifts, a direction appears, and she walks away different from how she walked in. And I want that for every woman in this room. That's why the Aligned Income Collective exists. And here's what you get, and I'm going to go through everything you get inside. So, inside the Aligned Income Collective, you're finally going to be able to do things that have felt impossible until now. You're going to be able to name your God given gifts with complete clarity, not a vague sense of what you might be good at, a specific, clear, ownable statement that becomes the foundation for everything you build. You're going to be able to connect those gifts to real aligned income stream, not someone else's business model. This is very specific, personal, yours. It's built specifically around who God made you to be. And you're going to be able to build on God's plan instead of your own, to stop swimming upstream and start walking in what He already laid on you. You're going to be able to take one clear, confident next step that is completely yours. It's not a 47-point overwhelmed list, it's just one thing that you'll do next. And you're going to be able to show up for your family without the weight of financial pressure hanging over every moment. You'll be present. You'll be peaceful. You'll be walking in your calling. And here's what you are finally going to be able to get rid of: the spinning and the second guessing that has been draining your energy for years, the guilt of wanting more when you already have so much, the exhaustion of trying things that do not fit and calling it failure, and the feeling that everyone else has this figured out except you. So if you're ready to get rid of those things, I'm going to share that with you now. So, week one, we deep dive on your gifts. We take what started in that CEO meeting with God and we go deeper. We identify the specific gifts God placed inside you. We name them, we shape them, we give them a purpose. And this is the week where women finally stop saying, I don't know what I'm good at, and start saying, oh, that's what it is. In week two, we connect those gifts to income: real, sustainable, aligned income, that streams that actually fit who you are. Not someone else's business model, not something you have to force, something that flows naturally from who God made you to be. Week three, we build the foundation: who you serve, what you offer, how you show up in a way that honors God, fits your life, and doesn't require you to become someone you're not. And this is where it gets real and practical and completely yours. In week four, we bring it all together. One clear, faith grounded action plan, your next step. Not a 47-point overwhelm, just one thing you do next and the confidence to actually do it. And each week, you get a live coaching call with me. It's a real conversation, real questions, real application to your real life. And you do it all inside of a community of women who are walking this exact road alongside you. If you guys are getting a little excited, say yes in the chat. So, I want to put something in perspective for you. Here's what it cost me to find the breakthroughs that are inside the Aligned Income Collective: 10 plus years of trial and error across 6 different industries: real estate, MLM, blogging, e commerce, digital products, affiliate marketing. Every one of those things was a classroom I had to pay tuition for in time, energy, and money. Over $50,000 invested in mentors, coaches, and programs. Some of it was well spent and some of it not, but all of it was necessary to get me to where I am today. It was years of spinning, trying things that did not fit, building on the wrong page, following blueprints that were never built for me. And that's what it cost me. But here's what it's going to cost you: 4 weeks, one live call per week, and a fraction of what I spent. Because you're not starting from scratch the way I did. You're starting with a guide, with a framework, with someone who has already been in every room you might consider walking into, and I can tell exactly what you will find when you get there. The path I tried to carve through 10 years of trial and error, I'm handing it to you in 4 weeks. Can you see what that's worth? So, before I show you what's inside the Aligned Income Collective, I want to address a few things that might be running through your mind right now. You might be thinking 4 weeks is not enough time to figure all this out. And I want to reframe that. The goal of 4 weeks is not to have everything figured out. The goal is to walk away with one clear, specific, confident next step that's completely yours. One clear next step, the right one taken with confidence, is all you need to change everything. And you might be thinking, I won't show up consistently. I'll buy this and not follow through. But I want to point something out to you. You showed up today. You read the emails. You stayed for the whole session. You did the CEO meeting, and you're still right here, right now. And that's not behavior of someone who doesn't follow through. That is behavior of a woman who just needed the right thing to show up for. And you might be thinking, I've tried programs before and they did not work. Every program you have tried before was built around someone else's gift, someone else's path, and someone else's version of success. This is the first time you're inside a program built entirely around your specific gifts and God's specific plan for you. And it's not the same thing, it's not even close. And you might be thinking, this won't work for my specific situation. I have kids, I have a job, I have a husband who is not sure about this, I don't have the time. And you're a situation exactly what this is built for. Not in spite of all those things, but because of them. This program was designed for the woman whose life is already full and who just needs a path that fits inside it. Let me show you exactly what you're getting inside the Aligned Income Collective. And I'm going to build this out piece by piece so you can see exactly what you're getting. The first thing you're getting is a 4 weekly live coaching calls with me personally. Not pre-recorded videos you watch alone at 11 p.m., not a replay you'll save and never get back to. Live in real time where I can hear you, respond to you, and help you specifically with what God placed inside you. Private coaches charge $200 per session for this kind of access. That's industry standard for coaching time with someone who has the experience I have. And you're getting 4 sessions. That alone is worth $200. The second element is the weekly framework that builds on itself. Each week is not a standalone lesson. Each week builds directly on the week before so that by week 4, you're not starting over, you're finishing something real. Week 1, discover your gifts. We go deep on what God placed specifically inside you and we give it a name, a shape, and a purpose. Week 2, align your gifts to income. We connect those gifts to real income stream that actually fits who you are. Week 3, we build your foundation. We lay the practical groundwork, who you serve, what you offer, how you show up. Week 4 is your clear next step. We bring it all together in one simple, faith grounded action plan that's completely yours. And that framework is worth about $150 on its own. So the running total is $350. The third element is access to our private online community. This is not a group where you post something and never hear back. This is an intimate, guided community of women who are doing exactly the exact work alongside you. Women who get it. They'll cheer you on. Um, they'll cheer for you between calls and life gets hard and the doubt creeps in. And they'll hold you accountable when you want to quit and celebrate with you when you want to take the next step. A community like this, guided, faith-based, and intentional, is worth $100 on its own. Now, here's the element I want you to really hear. Over 10 plus years, I've built businesses in 6 different industries: real estate, flipping houses, holding rentals, MLM, physical product, e commerce, digital products, blogging, affiliate marketing, social media. I have been inside almost every room you might consider walking into. And I've spent thousands of dollars on mentors and coaches learning what works and what does not. So you don't have to. I'm taking everything I learned across every single one of those experiences, every breakthrough, every lesson, every mistake, and I'm distilling it into 4 weeks with you. And you're not just getting a coaching program, you're getting a decade of hard won, real world experience filtered through faith and handed directly to you. And that's worth $500 conservatively. The fifth element is your complete faith grounded action plan. It's not a generic template you fill in the blanks on, not a one size fits all strategy that was built for someone else. Your specific, personal, God aligned next step, built around your gifts, your life, your season, and His plan for you specifically. This is what week 4 produces, and it is a thing that makes everything else in the program matter because information without a next step just becomes more of what you already have. A head full of things you know and a life that has nothing changed. The action plan changes that. It's worth $100. So our running total of the worth is $1,050. And I want to make sure everyone in this woman knows whether this is for her. The Aligned Income Collective works for stay-at-home moms who want to contribute financially without sacrificing her presence at home. It works for the working woman who feels God calling her somewhere different from where she is right now. It works for the woman who already has a business idea but needs to know whether it is truly aligned with her gifts and God's plan before she builds one more thing. It works for the woman who has tried the things before, the side hustles, the shops, the MLM, and she needs a framework that's actually built around her specific gifts instead of someone else's model. And it works for the woman who has been feeling this pull for years, who's been praying the prayer, who's been waiting for the door, and who finally ready to do something about it. If you're a Christian mom who knows God made her for more, this was built for you. Can you see yourself in this? Drop yes in the chat if you can feel yourself in there. So I want to address the number one reason women do not move forward because I've seen it happen many times and I care about you too much to let it happen today. The number one reason is this: I need to think about it. I want to show you what thinking about it actually looks like in real life. The tab stays open, you go back to it a few times, life gets busy, the kids need something, work happens, and before you know it, a week has passed, and then a month, and then the invitation is closed and the moment has passed. And 6 months from now, you're sitting in the same place, feeling the same pull, having the same internal conversation, wondering why nothing has changed. And here's what I know about the decision you're facing right now. The decision you make today is the same decision you'll make in 6 months, except in 6 months, you'll have lost 6 months. The thinking does not produce new information, it just produces more delay. And delay has a cost that most women do not calculate when they are looking back at years that passed while they were thinking about it. The woman who changed her life did not do it because she had more information. Did it because she made a decision. So, are you ready to make yours? So let me show you everything you're going to get one more time so you can see the full picture. 4 weekly live coaching calls with me personally, worth $200. The weekly framework that builds on itself across all 4 weeks, worth $150. Access to our private online community, worth $100. 10 plus years of business experience across 6 industries and over $50,000 in mentorships distilled into 4 weeks, worth $500. And the complete faith grounded action plan, worth $100. So a total value of $1,050. Now, before I tell you what you're actually going to invest today, I want to ask you something. If all the Aligned Income Collective did was help you identify the one gift God placed inside of you that could generate real income, would it be worth your investment today? If all it did was save you from spending another year trying things that do not feel like you, would it be worth it? If all it did was give you one clear, faith grounded next step towards the life God designed for you, would it be worth it? Because what I'm about to tell you the investment is, I think you're going to be surprised. Before I reel the investment, I want you to sit with something for just a moment. What would it be worth to you to wake up every day doing work that finally feels like you? Not a performance, not a role you're playing, work that is built from who God made you to be. What would it be worth to stop lying awake doing math in your head at night, to have that weight lifted, to go to sleep knowing you are building something real? What would it be worth to show your kids what it looks like when a woman walks in her calling? Not just talks about it, actually lives it every day. And you can probably see why women pay thousands of dollars for results like these. Private coaching programs can do that. What the Aligned Income Collective does typically run anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. And women pay it because the results are worth it. But I'm not charging you anywhere near that. The full value of everything inside the Aligned Income Collective is $1,050. My mentor looked at what I built and told me to charge a minimum of $200 for this program. And at $200, it would still be one of the most underpriced coaching experiences available for what it delivers. You've already seen why it's worth $1,050, and you can probably see why $200 is a remarkable deal. But because you're here today in this room, because you showed up, you stayed, and you did the CEO meeting, you did the work, I'm going to do something different. Your investment today is $44. Not 1,050, not 200, 44. 44 for 4 weekly live coaching calls, for the weekly framework, for the private community, for 10 plus years of business experience, $50,000 in mentorships distilled into your 4 weeks, and for your complete faith grounded action plan. 44. And I want to tell you why. I know who's in this room. I know she's been feeling this pull for a long time. I know she's followed paths that did not fit. I know she's tried things that felt like someone else's thing. I know she sat quietly with God and something stirred. And I want the door to be wide open for her. And that's why it's at $44. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now. So now I'm going to show you exactly what you'll see when you click the link. Let's see. Stop sharing. So when you click the link, you'll see here it has the countdown. We're going to give you a time period to be able to sign up. But all you'll do, you can scroll through and it talks about everything that we went through today and answers any questions you might have and what to expect from each week. And when you get to the bottom, it has a simple form you can fill out and complete your enrollment. After you complete the enrollment, you'll get an email that'll talk to you about the next steps. So that is the page. And let's see. So the price and the invitation, they're only available until Thursday at midnight. And after that, this round of the Aligned Income Collective will close. So if something's starting you today, don't wait. And I'm going to share my screen again so you guys can see the rest of the presentation. Okay. So I want to put $44 in perspective for you. One session with a private coach in this space typically runs between $150 and $300. And you're getting 4 sessions for $44. A business course that teaches strategy without the live coaching, without the community, without the personal guidance, typically runs between $500 and $2,000. A mastermind or a group coaching program with the level of access and personalization that the Aligned Income Collective offers typically runs between $2,000 and $10,000. And the 10 years of trial and error across 6 industries with $50,000 invested in mentors, you cannot put a price on that. $44 gets you all 4 weeks, all 5 elements, and someone who has been in every room you're considering walking into and can tell you exactly what you will find when you get there. So if $44 is starting to feel like it's easier decision, type yes in the chat. Right now, in this moment, you have 2 choices. Choice 1, you do nothing. You close the tab, you go back to life as it is, and the pool stays, the questions stay. Another season passes, and 6 months from now, you're sitting in the same place, having the same internal conversation, wondering why nothing has changed. Choice 2, you take a leap of faith. You say yes to yourself. You say yes to the gifts God placed inside you. You say yes to the calling you have been feeling and the life you have been praying for, and you walk through the door that is standing open right now. And y'all, I want you to think about the woman you want to be in 6 months from now. Does she look back at this moment and say, that was it? That was the day I stopped waiting and I started walking? Or does she look back and wonder, what would have happened if she had said yes when the door was open? Well, the door is open right now, and Thursday at midnight it closes. So, which woman do you want to be? So, I want to remove every reason you have to not say yes today. So, here's my guarantee. If you show up for every live call, you do the work, and you engage in the community, you come with an open heart and a willingness to let God show you what He placed inside of you. And if you walk away after 4 weeks without clarity on your gifts and your next step, I will personally walk you through the entire 4 weeks again at no charge. Not because I think that will happen. I have never sat with a woman who was willing to do the work and still walked away without clarity. But I want you to know I'm not just taking your $44 and wishing you well. I'm investing in your outcome personally, and I'll stand behind you with that with my time. And your investment isn't protected. Your outcome is my priority. So I want to make this as simple as possible for you. The real question is not whether this works. You already know it works. You've seen the case studies, you've heard the stories, you did the CEO meeting, and something stirred. You know this works. The real question is this: is it worth taking a small leap of faith to find out what God placed inside you? Even if the aligned income only does half of what I said it would do, even if you walk away with partial clarity, a starting direction, a small step forward, it will pay for itself the moment you take that first aligned step. Because one aligned step in the right direction is worth more than 104 steps in the wrong one. It's $44, Thursday at midnight. The doors open. I'm going to drop the link in the chat again. So I'm going to show you everything one final time. Your 4 weekly live coaching calls with me personally, the weekly framework that builds on itself, your private online community, 10 plus years of business experience and thousands of dollars in mentorship distilled into 4 weeks, your complete faith grounded action plan. And I want to add one more thing for the woman who's ready to say yes right now. The first 10 women who join today are going to receive something extra that's not available after today. At the end of our 4 weeks together, I'm going to sit down with you one on one, just you and me, and we're going to map out your specific steps and build your personal plan together. It's a private one on one call dedicated entirely to your gifts, your income plan, and your next season. I would charge $200 for one on one access, but you're getting it for free, but only if you're one of the first 10 women to say yes today. So that brings your total value to $1,250, but your investment remains at $44. And the link's in the chat. And the first women who click on it will get that bonus one-on-one call. So I want to be clear about the urgency here because I mean it genuinely, not as a sales tactic. The price, the $44, it does disappear Thursday at midnight. And after that, this round of the Align Income Collective closes completely. And I may not be reopening at that price. I haven't decided yet. And the bonus one-on-one call planning at the end of the 4 weeks is only available to the first women who sign up today, not tomorrow, today, right now, while we're still in this room together. Because here's what I know about the women who changed their lives. They're not the ones who had the most information. They had plenty of information today. They're the ones who made the decision while the door was still open, while the momentum was still there, while the stirring from that CEO meeting was still fresh. And that is you right now. And the door is open, and the link is in the chat. And it will close Thursday at midnight. So I want to open it up for some questions about anything we covered today, about the program, about your specific situation. You can drop them in the chat, and I'll answer as many as I can. And while you guys are thinking of some questions that you might want to come up with, I'm going to answer some of the questions that I hear most often from women just like you. So here's some of the questions that I hear often is, I don't know what my gifts are. What if I still can't figure it out? And that's exactly why week one exists. We do not assume you already know. We go find it together. I've never sat with a woman who did not have gifts, only women who had not been shown how to see them yet. And that's a completely different problem and it's completely solvable. Or I've tried things before and they didn't work because everything you tried was someone else's thing. This is the first time you're building around what God placed specifically in you. You did not fail, you were just building in the wrong room. I don't have time. The mental load of not having clarity costs you more time than this program ever will. The constant wondering, the scrolling, the second guessing, that takes more bandwidth than one live call a week. This clears the load, it does not add to it. I'm not sure I'm ready. You don't need to be ready, you need to be willing. Ready to come from doing. The feeling of ready does not come before you start, it comes after. Is this just going to tell me to start a social media account? No. Not everyone's gifts lead to social media or coaching. We do not fit you into a box. We find your box and we build from there. So go back to what came up in that CEO meeting with God today. What did he say? What did Jesus speak over this season? And what steps did the Holy Spirit point at? That answer and this invitation are not a coincidence. So for the women who click and get the bonus one-on-one call with me at the end of 4 weeks, you can do that now before the call ends. And for anyone else, the opportunity will close Thursday at midnight. We'll start, the course will begin next week, and I'll send out a questionnaire so you guys can pick a time that works best. I know this time might not be best for everybody, so we can kind of find a time that works for everybody. But whatever you decide today, I am so glad you showed up. I truly am. This is honestly, I have such a passion for this, such a heart for it, and I genuinely just want to reach as many women with this as I can because I have found so much peace in it. And the fact that you're here is not an accident. So I just want to ask you to stop inviting God along for your plans and start asking him what his plan actually is. And then walk in the gifts he already gave you to get there. And hopefully I will see you inside the program. All right, guys, I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any more questions that you might have. Um, Anything else that you might want to come up with, I'll drop the link one more time in the chat just in case anybody wants to go and grab that. And like I said, you'll get an email confirmation, and then we'll plan to get started next week once everybody gets situated. All right, you guys have a great day. Bye, guys.